Today, we're going to take a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at how I went about designing the cover to Passage to Avalon, the first book in the epic adventures of the Techno Wizard. Now, everybody that's seen this book knows that the cover is wicked awesome. And I wanted it to be wicked awesome. I needed it to be wicked awesome. So I put a lot of time and a lot of effort to customize my cover to get exactly what I wanted. So how do we go about starting from this, which is my horrific pencil sketch for the idea in my head for what the cover was going to be, to eventually get to something that looks like this, which, as I said before, was wicked awesome. So we're going to go through each of these steps that kind of represent something in the process to get to the very end, and I'll kind of show you at least how I went about going from the pencil sketch all the way to the cool cover. So we start with inspiration. Now, for some reason or another, I had two images in my head when I was thinking about inspiration for my book cover. They have nothing to do with each other. They are wildly different than what you see on the front cover. So for some reason, I had in my head these two awesome posters from my youth. One was Army of Darkness, and the second was the original poster from Star Wars. Now, you might not even see any similarities between the two other than the woman hanging onto the leg, which I don't have on my children's fantasy book. But what I liked about these covers was sort of the triangular shape with the hero kind of coming up to the top. So you got people kind of around the base, R2-D2, C-3PO, whatever else, kind of around the side of the main character, and the main character holding something up in the air. Now you can probably see a parallel between my front cover and Star Wars better than you can the Army of Darkness. Anyway, this shape of sort of the main character, a bunch of people surrounding him, coming up to a point, I don't know why, it struck me as a kid. It's always stayed in my head. So that's kind of what I had originally for a general shape of what I wanted for my book cover. So rough concepts. And when I talk about rough concepts, I'm talking real rough, like alligator skin rough. So you'll see on one side my pencil sketch. This thing is brilliant. Again, I had my sort of just general rough outline with stick figures. I knew I was going to pay an artist. I am not an artist. That's what I am paying them for, to come up with something cooler than I can jot down on a piece of paper. And I don't set that bar particularly all that high. So you can kind of see I had the bad guy positioned in the corner. I had a little cowboy. I had a gorilla-looking horse thing and a little tree girl on top. Anyway, I drew it up, and I wanted kind of an island in the back with this cool kind of castle structure, which we actually edited out later. So then I went around the internet and just basically Googled pictures of what I thought generally looked like my characters or my creatures or the scene set. In fact, the background, that mountainous background, that picture you see there, is the exact background in the book, because my book takes place in an alternate version of New Zealand. And that is the exact spot at Lake Wanaka where I have the city of Trelston off to the right with that castle. So that is the exact view I wanted. I found it on Google Maps. That's the exact view that I wanted. Anyway, so I set everything up with a bit of descriptions, cobbled it together, and I was ready to try to find an artist who could actually draw this thing and not make it look horrendous. So finding an artist, I had to do some research. So right off the bat, I went to seek inspiration from the covers that I liked. I like Brandon Mull as an author, obviously, and I also really like his covers. I like almost all the covers that come out of Shadow Mountain. I think they do an incredible job on their middle grade covers. One of the things you can do, you can take one of those books, flip it open, and in the front cover, a lot of the times you'll see the name of the illustrator. So I have all these books here on my shelf. You can just grab one. In fact, I bought this book. It was like super cheap, like a couple of bucks. I haven't even read it yet, but I just wanted to figure out who the illustrator was because I thought he was really rad. So open it up, and on the inside cover, I found the illustrator's name. Then you can Google him and send him an email. So that's kind of what I started to do. Took a look at all the books that I liked, the covers that I liked, and try to get an idea for how I kind of wanted the art style to go. So another thing you can do is just search Google Images and just type in best looking middle grade fantasy book covers. And it's kind of what I did. So you get something that looks like that. A lot of these I thought were really cool. Then again, you Google it. Sometimes they have the artist information there. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you got to buy the book or you go to the library and look them up. Another thing you can do, and this is actually where I ended up finding my artist, was going to websites like Behance.com, Behance.net I think it is, or other sort of, I know a lot of people go to DeviantArt or whatever else, and you just Google cool book covers or fantasy work or whatever, and you just scroll through. So I remember I spent probably hours scrolling through all these different cool artists, trying to find a style that I liked, and then I would email them and get quotes back. Now I got quotes anywhere from a couple $100 all the way up to a few $1,000s for a cover. Now I wanted a cool cover, but I was not going to pay $3,000 for a cover. I might not even make $3,000 on this book. So anyway, I found an artist that was the right balance of the aesthetic that I wanted and the price that I wanted, and happened to be this guy named Carmine Pucci, this Italian dude who lives in Dublin. So I really liked his work, really liked his aesthetic, and went from there. All right, so this, after me giving all of my crudely designed sketches to Carmine, this is what he came back with, which is a slight upgrade to what I gave him. I'll grant him that, but still looking for it to be a little more fleshed out. No, it looked awesome right off the bat. One of the things, English was not his first language, although he speaks English very, very well. There was a couple times where, I don't know, I thought he'd pick up on some nuances in some explanation that he didn't. One of them was this thing was landscape. So obviously it's got to be portrait in the same dimensions as a book cover. So he took his landscape version, made this portrait one, kind of crammed them all together. And what we started to realize was there's not going to be a lot of room for this mountainous background. He thought it would clutter it up. In the end, we ended up taking it out, which you'll see. So then he said, look, that bad guy up there kind of in the background also clutters it up. There's not going to be room for like a title, so let's take him out and make him the back cover. In the end, I kind of had to fade him on the back cover so I could put words over the top of him. So this really cool drawing of the collector on top of the Screecher, that big dragon bat thing, gets faded in the end on the back of the book, which isn't ideal, but I think still looks cool. And you can check out all the art on my website anyway. So yeah, so then he started shading it in. A couple different revisions. You'll see the drone changed. It was like a lot bigger of a drone at first. I want that drone to be a lot smaller. So I gave him updated drawings. He starts the initial coloring. And boom, does the final coloring. Looks rad. He does such a good job. Anyway, we do this and we are not done. We have 2 revisions to do. So I sat on this thing for like a month and I got some feedback from folks, and there was a couple of things that I needed to change. One, Rowana did not look like Rowana. So I had given him this picture of kind of a Viking girl. She's kind of like a Scottish Viking in the book, and yeah, she just did not look quite right. And I was just so giddy when I got something back. I was like, oh, it looks awesome. And I didn't even like bother to make a lot of revisions. And then when I sat on it and I kind of calmed down and was like, look, just because it's something that you had in your head that you now see on paper doesn't mean it's all perfect. You can ask for revisions. You can take the time to do that. And Carmine was actually a really cool guy and was very patient with me as I worked through these revisions. So my number one thing is when I get something from him, I usually don't respond right away because my initial response is usually, looks sweet. And I miss the opportunity to get a revision and to tweak something that I want. So 2 things. One, yeah, Rowana had to go. She had to get completely redone, which stunk because we were this far in the revision process and I had to go back out and redraw her entirely. The second one was the gorilla horse, Milla, should be missing a tooth. She gets her tooth knocked out in the book. Totally didn't even just went right over my head. So I needed to take that tooth out. So what I did, as I said, let's change Rowana. Here's the new facial expression, hair, and clothes. Let's just give her a total full body makeover. And this is what she ends up looking in the end, which is way better and exactly what I had in my head. She went from kind of looking like an androgynous barbarian to looking like the Rowana that I had pictured when I wrote the book. So finally done, looks awesome. I love every bit of it. There's some things, you know, that I might change. The gorilla horse is supposed to be way bigger in the book. The gorilla horse, Milla, is like the size of a rhinoceros. I kind of kept communicating that. I just didn't really come back that way. Plus, I think it would have cluttered up a lot of the front cover, so I'm fine with how it came out. Anyway, I think the book or the front cover looks sweet. Awesome art. Love the work that Carmine does. All right, title design. So I went a different route. Usually you can go to one person and say, do my art and do my title all together. Now, I had a very specific aesthetic that I wanted, so I sought out the artist, who may or may not do book covers, but will give me a cool image. And then I had to go find someone that would do title design. And most people do that all in one package, so I had to find someone that would take on an existing art and then add title over it. So that was a bit of a search for me to find the right person. So again, what did I do? I searched online for title design. Now there's book cover designers coming out the internet's ears right now because self-publishing is a big thing and people need book cover designers. There are good ones and there are bad ones. And I found both and I paid for both. So what did I do? Again, provided super rough sketches of what I wanted. So I went on to like Word and just typed in The Epic Adventures of the Techno Wizard and the Passage to Avalon. I actually changed the name of the book. It used to be And the Passage to Avalon. Now it's just Passage to Avalon. Anyway, and then on a little post-it note, I kind of wrote how I wanted it. I wanted the series name real big, like in Harry Potter and all the Brandon Mold stuff, and then the name of the book specifically kind of small, then my name big at the bottom. That's how I wanted it. And then the Epic Adventures was also small, so I wanted the Techno Wizard to stand out a lot. Those are the rough concepts, and this is what came back. Garbage. So the first person that came back gave me something that I could have done on PowerPoint if I would have had 30 minutes. Not what I was looking for. What I am looking for is something that looks custom and looks awesome. Part of, I think, where self-publishing falls down is you can pick a self-published book out by its cover 9 times out of 10. Self-published. I wanted something that could stand next to the Fablehavens and the Harry Potters and whatever else from an aesthetic value, and you go, that looks pretty awesome. So I went back and forth with this dude, and he just could not kind of catch my vision. And English was his first language, so I don't know what his excuse was. So we're not going that direction. So take 2. I went and I provided the rough concepts as well as the failed concept to another designer who are awesome. Deranged Doctor, they are incredible, like surpassed every bit of my expectation. Everything they gave me was spot on, super responsive. I would recommend them to anybody. In fact, I'll include the link to them in this video. So cool. Just overjoyed with how well they did. So they gave me this sort of rough concept back. And again, my first initial response is, it's perfect. Look, it's awesome, but it's definitely not perfect. Why did my Xbox just randomly turn on? That was super weird. Like Microsoft spying on me, I think. Holy crap, look at this. Hold on. There we go. I won't edit that out because I want that on film in case my Xbox is haunted. All right, so this was way awesome, but it wasn't perfect. My sister, who is like entrepreneur extraordinaire, she's done tons of these kind of advertisements for her business and whatever else, taught me kind of this thing. Number 1, you only want 2 fonts on your front cover. You don't want any more than 2. You confuse people. Probably should stick to 2 colors as well. This one's got 3. It's got one for the Techno Wizard, one for Avalon, one for Mike Thayer. And also, the Passage to Avalon's font size kind of competes with the Techno Wizard. So when you look at it, you don't know what you're supposed to look at first. Am I supposed to look at Passage to Avalon? Am I supposed to look at Techno Wizard? Am I supposed to look at Mike Thayer? There's no just natural flow to it. So my sister Katie helped me out a bunch with this. And in the background, that kind of honeycomb looking thing, I was like, I wanted circuitry. I want techno built into that. So I just gave them a couple more suggestions and a couple more revisions, and boom, they came back like spot on. Again, I love these people at Deranged Doctor Design. They are incredible. Got exactly what I wanted. I love this thing. People see it and they're blown away by it. They gave me a bunch of different options for font. Again, overjoyed with this. I look at this and think that is a good looking book. So that's how I go from super duper rough sketch on a post-it note and a piece of printer paper to something that looks epically awesome. So hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully this goes a lot quicker next time around because I found my artists and I found my cover designers, and I ain't going to change them because they are, as I said, super cool, and I cannot be more impressed and more satisfied with the work they did. So hopefully you thought this was awesome. If you have any other suggestions or any other questions about the cover design process, shoot me a note. I am an open book. Anyway, Mike Thayer signing out.